All right, everybody. Good Friday morning. Hope you guys are doing well today. And it's Friday, and this week that's also going to double as the day where I do my stream with the Hawk's Nest. We're going to go at noon, so about 3 hours from the upload of this video. We're going to go live, and we're going to start talking about the draft in detail. So if you're interested in draft conversations, tune in. We're going to do the quarterbacks today. And one thing to note is that the shows with the Hawk's Nest are going to be a little bit different over the next month. They're going to be shorter and there are going to be more of them. We have a lot of things we need to get to for the draft, but we want to kind of silo them by position. So, what we're going to do is have a different show for each position or each position group. And from that, we can touch all the things we need to touch without having any one show go too long. So there's going to be at least 1 week where we have shows on like 4 consecutive days. So it's going to be a little bit different. So understand that if you just tune in on Thursday or just tune in for the one weekly show whenever we get around to doing it, that's not really going to work all that well because we're going to do way more shows than that. So just something to keep in mind. So anyway, because we're doing the Hawk's Nest stream today, we're going to go a little bit light on the videos. I think we're only going to do like 3 today, and then we're going to do 5 tomorrow. But the position we're doing over the next few days is cornerback. We are doing cornerback, and I divided this up into 2 categories. We're going to do, and this is obviously most of it, the corners that I think are going to end up playing on the outside, and then the third day, because I have to split the outside corners up into 2 days. The third day is going to be slot corners, corners that I think will end up playing in the slot at the NFL level. So it's going to take a while to get through all this. We got a lot of cornerbacks, some very interesting prospects this year. And let's just go ahead and open her up with the guys that I think will be first round picks. The obvious idea here is that the Seahawks defense needs really good cornerback play to work under McDonald. He really likes having reliable, solid, consistent cornerbacks. And I just kind of think we're at the point now where Reek Woolen is not going to be able to give that to us. I don't know what's going to happen with Woolen. I don't know if he's going to be here next year. I don't know if he's going to be just allowed to walk after the year. I don't know if he's going to be traded. But the idea of getting a blue chip corner in this draft is appealing, even if it might not be the most important thing in the world. So let's definitely spend some time here, and let's start with our top 2 guys. Okay, so the top cornerback in this draft, although the main reason why he's the top cornerback is because he also offers value as a receiver, is Travis Hunter. Colorado Buffalo. I think everybody knows about Travis Hunter. Won the Heisman, plays 2 ways, did a lot of great things as a receiver as well as a corner. 22 years old. I mean, he is as public a non-quarterback can be in college football, I think. He might be one of the most well-recognized non-quarterbacks in college football in recent memory. Um, Decent height, a little bit light, 188 pounds on the lighter side. Arms about average, 48th percentile, 31 and 3/8, average hands. So the physical measurements are kind of in the middle here. Every big board, all the major big boards anyway, had him in the top 2. The aggregate pulls him down a little bit, but only to 3. This is clearly a top prospect, no matter how you slice it. And you look at the numbers over the last couple of years. A handful of tackles a game, gets 2 to 3 tackles a game, 7 total interceptions, 16 passes broken up. This last year actually allowed less than 50% of his targets to be caught, which is really good. Previous year, not quite that good, so he improved in 2024. He also was a prolific receiver these last couple years. I'm not really going to feature that because I think that it's important that we understand that Travis Hunter is a cornerback first and a receiver a very distant second. He could play 2 ways full time in college. He's not going to be able to do it in the pros. He's better as a corner than a receiver by a good margin, I think. So to me, him playing receiver a lot in the NFL is almost going to be a detriment. So I don't really want to look at him like that. I want to look at him as a cornerback because that is where he actually has elite ability. And I'm not, don't get me wrong, the receiver stuff would definitely break a tie. Like if you're choosing, like let's say you have the opportunity to draft either Hunter or Will Johnson in this draft, and we'll talk about Will Johnson in a second here. If you have the opportunity to do that, you might think Will Johnson is a slightly better corner prospect, but that receiver stuff could break the tie. That means something, even if it's 10 snaps a game, even if it's only red zone. But I don't want to get too crazy with it and act like Travis Hunter is going to be Deion Sanders on one side and Jerry Rice on the other side. I think he's going to be a really, really good corner, but I think he's just going to be kind of almost a gadget play type receiver. And I don't want to make it seem like it's going to be anything more. So I will say this. The fact that Travis Hunter has experience as a receiver clearly helps him as a corner. He has a very good understanding of route trees and where the receiver is going and where the play is going because he was a receiver. So he has a very strong understanding of where to be. He has a very strong understanding of where the play is going to go, and he knows how to react to that knowledge. He's got a very smooth click and close when he's in zone and dropping back. When he decides to gun forward, he guns forward very quickly and confidently. He usually wins when the ball is put in the air as well. If you put him in a contested catch situation, he's probably coming down with it, and that's on both sides of the ball. He acts like the ball is his when it's in the air. So, phenomenal talent. By the way, I think I accidentally said 50% here. I meant 60% here. My bad. I just realized. I think I used the wrong number there. But yeah, a lot of great things about Travis Hunter. And again, I want to stress, the receiver stuff is cool. Now, his arms are not as long as you would like. And while he's not bad in run support, I do think that he has an issue dealing with stock blocks. He has an issue dealing with receivers and backs or whatever getting up on him and throwing a block on him. He doesn't shed blockers well. Bigger receivers are going to give him a headache, I think. He's not overly big, and I think the bigger guys are going to be a problem for him. He does have long legs, which kind of interferes with his ability to move with great agility, move laterally, change direction. He doesn't have great change of direction skills. He is somebody who depends heavily on his cerebral understanding of the position to get by, which is great, but he doesn't have the short area quickness that some of the truly elite prospects have. And I want to stress this. I think that he may end up being just kind of I don't want to say a gimmick receiver, but kind of a receiver you put out there for fun. I don't know if he's going to be a weapon as a receiver. I'm just not quite seeing that. Like even when you're talking about someone like a J.J. Watt, right? And he did a little bit of receiver stuff in his career where he would come on and be like a tight end. And that was certainly kind of a gimmick. But at least he was like big. At least it was actually kind of hard to deal with him because you usually didn't have to deal with players like that. Travis Hunter's not that big. He's like the size of Devontae Smith. And he's not super fast, but I think he'll be a better corner in the NFL because he'll have more time to focus on the position. So, clear top 3 player in this draft. I'm not taking that away from him at all. He's a top 3 player in this draft. The receiver stuff is just a bonus. The fact that he was able to be this good as a corner in college while spending half of his time thinking about receiver is remarkable, and it's enough for me to think of him very highly. Okay, the only other first-round corner right now based on projection is Will Johnson, and this was a guy who was considered a top 3 player in this draft for a long time, but he is slipping. And I think he's slipping for the wrong reasons, personally. Wolverine, 22 years old. He will be 22 when the season starts. He's very tall. He is a little bit lean, but he can add weight if he needs to, and he doesn't have to. He's still 57th percentile. Very short arms, which I'll admit is a legitimate concern. 30 and 1/8 is tough. Not average-sized hands. All the big boards have him still in the top 15, but only half of them had him in the top 10. And the database actually has him just outside the top 10 now. That's how far he's fallen. He did not have a great 2024. He missed about half the season, and a lot of the season that he played injured. And he just wasn't as effective. The previous year, he played, I think, every game for Michigan's national championship team, and he only got targeted 37 times, 17 completions, less than 50%, 4 interceptions, great ball skills, great ball hawk stuff, just a really good all-around corner, special prospect. In 2024, man, if he had a clean 2024, even if it wasn't great, I think he's guaranteed to go top 5, but now there is some real Will Johnson slippage, and we got to talk about him now seriously because it is not out of the question he falls to the Seahawks. Phenomenal instincts. He reads plays, he reads routes like he was in the offensive huddle. I think his instincts might even be better than Hunter, and Hunter plays receiver. So this guy is really, really sharp. He is constantly putting himself in passing lanes, constantly putting himself in catch windows, always in position to take the ball away. I think that if he were to have a full season, healthy, playing on a team that doesn't have easy marks in coverage, he could be a big-time ball hawk. We just never quite got to see that because last year he was hurt, and then the year before that, there were things you could do against Michigan's defense that were a little bit better than attacking Will Johnson. But, like, let's say you put him in Seattle with, Witherspoon on one side and Will Johnson on the other side. You get some good stuff going with maybe that third corner as well, and you don't have really weak cover linebackers. I think Will Johnson would be constantly making turnovers. He's a hard hitter as well when he comes up and has to perform those duties. He can hit hard. He moves very well in space, given how tall he is. Maybe not elite, but very good. His press at the college level has been effective. He's been an effective press corner. And I think that he can be good in man coverage, even though I think clearly his best will be in zone when he gets to read and react to what he sees in front of him. Now, the big issue with Will Johnson is that 2024 wasn't a very good season. He played hurt, and then he didn't play the second half of the season. He is occasionally over-aggressive, and I mean that in coverage. He can bite too hard on a fake and bite on the double move and end up getting beaten because of it. And tackling. I think he overruns the ball sometimes and misses tackles that he should be making. He doesn't have top-tier speed. He doesn't have top-tier burst. His measurables in those regards are okay, right? He doesn't have the burner speed. He doesn't have the top-level acceleration. He's not the greatest athlete in the world, and he makes up for it with his cerebral understanding of the game. His arm length, this is normally something that would get you doomed to be in a slot corner, admittedly. So Will Johnson does have a little bit of something to prove in the NFL that he can play on the outside. Now, I'm just going to go and say it. I think he's going to do it. I think he can overcome this, but it is worth noting. And while I don't think he's a bad tackler, he doesn't attack it as hard as you would like. For a guy this big, for a corner, he should be able to be a decent tackler, although the short arms don't help. So I think he'll get better, but as of right now, it feels like he just doesn't attack the run as hard as he needs to. And that is something that McDonald values very highly, so we got to see something better there. So a little bit wary of the T-Rex arms. You never know how that's going to translate to an outside corner. But I think he'll be able to do it. I believe that he can buck the typical trend and find success along the boundary in the NFL. And not everything he does well. Like, I don't know if he'll be a good press corner. He might be a guy who needs to be playing off man or off zone constantly. But I think he will find success there as long as you allow him to be in those situations. So even though I admit some of the reservations are a little more legitimate than I was initially thinking, I'd still be very happy taking him in the top 8. If I had the 8th overall pick and he's there, I'm feeling very good about myself. So you can imagine how excited I'd be if he somehow fell to 18. Still don't think that's going to happen, by the way. Seems a little unrealistic, but hey, people are talking about it, and let me tell you, that cornerback duo would be terrifying to deal with for these opposing teams. All right, those are your 2 top corners in this draft, the 2 first rounders. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. Next videos will come after the stream with the Hawks Nest at noon. See you guys later. Go Hawks.